On weigh-in this morning, not the day we wanted at Hastings. Group 1 Arrowfield Plate Day abandoned. We dissect it all. Age of discovery firms in the market for the 2,000 guineas after dazzling at Riccarton. I wish I win firms in favouritism for the Everest with a great run in the Manikato. And broadsiding, what could he be? Another Group 1 for the Godolphin star. A very good morning to you on your Sunday. Welcome along to weigh-in, and it's been labelled the Triple Frown, not by me but by others, but I will claim it. A Group 1 day Arrowfield Plate Day abandoned after just one race, massively disappointing. As always on Sunday morning, bring in Jayne Ivil. Morning to you.
Morning, Guy.
And Emily Bosson across from me. Emily, morning to you.
Morning to you too, Guy.
Jayne, you were there yesterday. The day dawned so beautifully. It was bright blue skies. The track looked great. And then after one race, we get the disappointing news again.
Well, I think that's probably the only word you can use to describe it, Guy, that it was an incredibly disappointing result for a day that promised a lot at the start. Really unfortunate for the club and really unfortunate for the industry for it to happen on a Group 1 race day. But I do think we have to remember that although we will dissect what unfolded over the last hour, Emily, there was still plenty of positive to take out of racing yesterday, both at Riccarton and across the Tasman.
Yeah, we saw a really promising colt, of course, in the form of Age of Discovery. The old boys, they did the job in some of the feature races down at Riccarton. And across the Tasman, again, a lot to celebrate in terms of New Zealand's success. Pride of Jenny, Mr. Brightside, and of course, I Wish I Win running a slashing race in the Manikato as well. We
will talk to Mark Chittick from Waikato Stud about I Wish I Win's run and heading towards the Everest. We'll also talk to Darren Belcom, the New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing Chief Operating Officer, about what unfolded at Hastings. But first of all, let's take you back and see how it did all play out.
It's all just been a dream.
We're in a little bit of a holding pattern and a delay into race number 2 because there was an incident out of race number 1 where we saw a horse of Kevin Myers, Just Charlie, slip going out of the home straight the first time.
Have a look here, and it's just not just a straight slip. These are lateral motions. You can see it's coming out from one, and this is if you walk along here, you'll see this on several occasions. So even only here, only about 3 metres further on, again it's a slip, and again it's that lateral, so it's sliding out. But you can go anywhere here, and there's definitely movement in this track.
The club have proposed that they put the verti-drain machine through, which I'm told will probably take between 20 and 30 minutes.
As a rider, and you've seen that, if you were out there, does that give you any confidence?
Well, I certainly, you think, well, the verti-drain, is it going to work? It's certainly just because it's a big meeting, you can't just say we're going to hold the meeting because it's a big meeting. The horse has slipped.
Yeah, we're just actually hearing through that the meeting here has been abandoned.
The tractor has just lifted up the verti-drain machine and just left. So they've just got that information at the same time.
It's unfortunate, but you know, safety is paramount.
This track has had issues in the past. We had issues, 6 months ago as well with the track.
Once the verti-drain had gone on, we went and inspected the track, and we didn't find it to make enough significant difference for us to proceed with this meeting.
They've decided to abandon it all today. Tomorrow, they're worried about whether there'll still be the same problem tomorrow, so it's just getting a contingency plan really together and working out where we're going to go.
I mean, look at that. It looks absolutely stunning, but sadly just one race in and the whole day is gone. Jayne, you were down there. We heard a lot from trainers, jockeys, all those sorts of people. We didn't hear a lot from the club though, but over the past 12 hours you have heard from the Chief Executive.
I spoke to Aaron Hamilton last night regarding what unfolded at Hastings yesterday, and I think it's really important to say that as a club they take full responsibility for the outcome of yesterday, and he has provided a statement to weigh in and obviously to the industry and the participants. And as a club, he said they share the disappointment in today's race. The team had worked tirelessly over the last few months to bring the track up to a standard that was fitting of Group 1 racing. They achieved that on Tarzino race day and received extensive positive feedback after Tarzino race day, with many complimenting how good the Hastings racecourse looked. He said, however, their General Manager of Track Development and Operations, Bryce Milden, often reminds him that making a track look good is only part of the job. It's ensuring that it races well, and unfortunately yesterday the track didn't meet the high standards that they had set. They're committed to ensuring it doesn't happen again, and their focus is in preparing the best possible track for Livermore Day, and they are taking certain actions going forward to make sure that that happens in terms of remedial work to the track, these are some of the points that the CEO has made in terms of the work that's going to now happen at Hawke's Bay. He said that if further improvements are necessary after Monday's jump outs, they will consider extending the verti draining process to the rest of the track. He apologises to the industry for the outcome of today, and they're determined to understand what led to the situation and make necessary changes to prevent it happening again. With the expertise of their team, they are confident that the track presented for the Livermore Classic will meet the highest of standards, just as it did for Tarzino Trophy race day 3 weeks ago.
Well, that's from the club, Emily. We sat in here yesterday for Big Saturday preparing for such a big day and then realised that it was all over down in Hastings. The word disappointment has been used a lot. Is that a strong enough word for what's happening and what's happened and what's been happening over the past few months in terms of a raft of abandonments now? Yeah, it's a really difficult topic to tackle because you're looking at what's happened on the day and the people that are impacted, but you're also looking at the process that has occurred maybe over the past 10 to 15 years. And I think it's really important to highlight that potentially the people currently at Hawke's Bay are dealing with a lack of investment over the past 10 to 15 years, and they're paying the price for that. We've spoken at length about the track manager, Bryce Milden. I don't think there is anybody in the country more qualified than Bryce Milden. He's managed Pakenham, he's managed a number of other Australian tracks, he's managed Pukekohe. His knowledge and expertise are exceptional for what we need. And so I think it's really important to focus in on perhaps what should have been done previously that's got us to the point to where we are now. And that's something that we're going to have to tackle. I think we need to remember, as you've mentioned, Emily, that historically this is a track that has had a lot of problems, and particularly in the spot that we saw yesterday. In 2017 they lost a Livermore meeting because of a slip just past the winning post, so it's not new. And as you mentioned, there's people now at the Hawke's Bay Racing Club that have inherited problems over probably years of investment that hasn't happened in a track surface. I 100% agree with you in terms of the employment of Bryce Milden. I think that's the first positive step that the Hawke's Bay Racing Club have taken in order to get their track fixed. If Bryce can't fix this track, I don't think anyone can. And look, I'm sure that he would have learned something from yesterday. We've got to remember that he's been only at the helm for a couple of months, and he will be in the process of learning about the track. And look, I guess for all of our sake, we hope it doesn't happen again, but I think we need to remember that, yes, this may have happened because of things of the past, but the right people need to sit down and say, how do we stop this from happening again? I feel like sometimes it's all talk. Everybody says the right things about, yes, you know, it's not good enough, this needs fixing, but how do we fix it? How do we get this track right? Well, one of those people is standing by with us right now, the Chief Operating Officer of New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing, Darren Belcom. Darren, thank you very much for joining us on Weigh In this morning. If we can just kind of go back to yesterday, what has been the latest in terms of what caused the problem and what is your take on what unfolded?
Good morning. As I say, I wish I was here under better circumstances, but a terrible day yesterday, and we're all absolutely gutted around the abandonment of the race day. To say we didn't see it coming is probably an understatement. Beautiful day in the bay. The lead-up weather, yes, there was 1 to 3 mil on the Friday, but I would have seen that as more of a positive than a negative. Heading into the day, the track had dried out nicely in the morning. A very experienced, as you say, track manager and Bryce Milden preparing the track. So the track had played so well on the first day. We weren't expecting this to happen, but it definitely, the track was unsafe. You can see the marks there, and full credit to the jockeys. They handled themselves very professionally on the day around the issue, and unfortunately we are where we are at this stage. And agree we need to now sit down with the club and work out the future. It is years of underinvestment there at Hawke's Bay, and it's something that's been managed for many years. And I know Bryce is still learning the track, but we can't have issues like this.
Look, in terms of that process, Darren, and what unfolds going forward, I did make a point, and look, I don't want to be negative about the situation, but in times like this, when we see a result happening over and over again, there comes a point where something pretty significant probably needs to happen in order to make change. What will the process look like with the club over the next, I guess, couple of weeks leading into Livermore and then going forward?
Yeah, well, I'll be at the jump outs tomorrow, and we'll see how the track behaves. But moving forward, I know we got to a very similar situation a few years ago with Aotearoa as well, that it got to the point where significant reconstruction work needed to be done. There is a reverse camber on that bend, and when the horses get over the crown there, it does create a risk for slipping. So we do need to ensure that the track is up to the standard it needs to be, especially if it's holding Group 1 races. So, it's what we do with that reconstruction. The club has had some major decisions to be made over the past couple of years as to what they're going to do with their future, and whether the future is there at the Hastings racecourse or whether they look at other options. My understanding is that process is very near an end, so they've now got a bit more surety in what they want to do in their future. So it'll be about the time now that we need to look at what we do permanently with the track and getting those cambers right.
Darren, you talk about the possibility of a new track, and also the lack of investment over the past 5 or 10 years. Tell me, does NZTR have the funds to make the investments necessary in these tracks?
Yeah, we do have an infrastructure fund. It's not, of course, a bottomless fund, so we don't have a huge amount of money to be completely reconstructing tracks to the level of like the Ellerslie reconstruction, for example. But we've just recently completed, or nearly, it's about 99% complete, the Aotearoa reconstruction. So reconstructions along that line with changing the cambers and those sort of things, and getting drainage and that into the tracks is available to us.
Look, understandably, it's never a result that you want as an industry, but in fairness to NZTR and the work that went on behind the scenes yesterday, can you just let us know a little bit about the process once the decision was made to abandon the meeting? Because look, I'm sure that from an administration level, yesterday was probably hard work in order to make sure that the Arrowfield Stud Plate Day races and the movements that we've seen throughout next week.
Yeah, they're never easy. Those you don't even want to go down that process, but. Once it kicked in, we started to look at the options of what we could do. I know the last abandonment, we moved the Arrowfield when it was abandoned, and I think it was 23, 24. With the weather, we just moved the 2 races through to Manikato. But we had to look at all options and thought if we could get the race off as early as possible, that was the best option for everyone. And full credit to the Manikato Racing Club who came to the party and moved their meeting forward to the Wednesday. It was very much appreciated, because I know it comes at great cost to that club, but they took a really industry-focused view on it, and so they've moved forward to the Wednesday. We'll run the full remaining races there, so noms will be reopened for all races other than the Arrowfield, of course, due to the early noms and that, so that race We'll keep the same noms and same draws. The rest of the fields, the nominations will be reopened with preferences given to the original nominations. So nominations for those races will close tomorrow at 9 a.m. and withdrawals at 12 noon, and then the program will be out after that. The Cambridge synthetic that was previously there has moved to the Thursday, and Tauranga, who were scheduled to race the following Wednesday, will move forward and take that Saturday. The Manikato Cup won't be run on that day. But we'll look at running an open handicap for the same stake as the Manikato Cup on that day. The Manikato sponsors and the club did ask that they could run the Manikato Cup later in the season as part of that move, so that was accepted by the team. So we'll look through that. But yeah, they are fast moving things once these decisions are made. We would have liked to have get the announcement out there a bit earlier than we did yesterday, but we have to just wait for the official ticks of approval before we're able to get it out there to the industry.
Just a little bit of clarity around the Group 1 on Wednesday. Will all ballots be reinstated? We have a horse like Rolls who missed out on a start. Is the opportunity, if not everybody wants to return to Matter, a horse like that now gaining a start?
Yes, all ballots will be reinstated and any scratching. So if anyone doesn't go, then yeah, the likes of Rolls and that could be the beneficiaries, yes.
Darren, what's this? I take it the Livermore is still planned to be raced at Hastings in a couple of weeks' time. And what is, if that is the case, what is your confidence that the track will be ready to host that race in 2 weeks' time?
I haven't made that decision yet, Guy. So that will be made over the coming days. We will have a look at how the jump outs go tomorrow in the first instance and see whether it's even a possibility to move forward in 2 weeks. Traditionally, when the rail's been in at Hastings, there hasn't been any issues. So that's another thing that would make a difference. There's a hell of a lot of work that they're undertaking at the moment to rectify the track. But as I say, we'll look at that decision over the next couple of days and look at the possibilities of what that looks like.
Darren, just before we let you go, this has been described as disappointing. Some people have described it as amateurish. We've obviously got an Australian horse over here who's come over here for this carnival. We've got Australian jockeys over here. This is not the only abandonment we've had in recent times. What does this do for the reputation of New Zealand racing?
Oh, of course, it's terrible for the industry. You know, weather's going to beat you at certain times, and you're going to have weather abandonments, and you can't help those. But it's the track-related abandonments and these partial abandonments that we just can't have. And as an industry, we need to get rid of them, and that's part of my role. And I need to make sure I step up and reverse this trend. That's for sure.
Well, we appreciate you joining us this morning, Darren. Good luck with everything that happens, and we hope to see the Livermore at Hastings in a couple of weeks' time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, team.
That is New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing Chief Operating Officer Darren Balcombe. We did have some racing yesterday, both across the ditch and at Riccarton. We'll take a look at the Riccarton racing after this break.
Don't you know we're ready for that? Summer won't be the same. Summer won't be the same.
It's Age of Discovery inside the 100 metres. 2 starts, 2 wins, and with a move pin, hardly moved. Most impressive. Well, Mark Walker, he's been a bit of a journeyman in terms of his training career, and that'll be win number 2,000 for him, Age of Discovery, and you can guarantee that there is more to come.
It's a really nice colt, and you know, we've always thought quite a bit of him, and Wormy's riding really well, and we've sort of taken him under our wing a bit, and if we can keep him on the straight and narrow, he's as good as any rider going around.
Ears back, time's ticking in the deep, then Perfect Scenario. It's time's ticking on the outside, he's gone to the lead. Perfect Scenario late, it's too late though, time's ticking.
Huge thrill, yeah, and I know that Dad will be sitting at home watching, so he's done most of the work with this horse, and but it's just great. You know, he's a classy old customer.
I think that's one of the most special wins I've had as an apprentice in my short career so far.
Green Luck, Lofty's Gift, Lombardi. Green Luck hit the front from Lofty's Gift and Lombardi. Green Luck holding on, and Green Luck wins the North Canterbury Cup.
He's great. He's such a beautiful ride as well, and tries so hard. You can tell he's that old. Honestly, he feels great, and he tries really hard. It's a beautiful horse.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom here on WAN. There was some great racing to unpack yesterday, team. We saw Age of Discovery there. That was an arrogant win. He was so good.
Yeah, it was really good, wasn't it? Because we saw that debut performance and you always wonder, can they sort of take the next step? But he most definitely did that. He looks like he's got a great attitude. He has handled that debut run with ease, and just loved the way he worked the line. He was never off the bridle. If Wuramu Pin had actually asked him, you wonder how far he could have won by. And Te Akau and Mark Walker, Sam Burgess, and they're so good at preparing these colts for their feature races, and you know he's going to be handled meticulously in the build-up to the 2000 Guineas. He's down there, he's settled in, he's seen Riccarton. He's got a lot of positives about it. I don't know what he beat in this race, but if he keeps taking those steps, he's on the right path.
Yeah, I thought he was really well ridden and showed a little bit of versatility. We saw him sit outside the leader on debut and kick clear. This time they were a little bit more neutral with him out of the barrier. Beautiful ride by Wuramu Pin, and as Emily mentioned, barely asked him for effort in the concluding stages. Just wanted to touch on Wuramu. He's a jockey that's riding particularly well at the moment. Unfortunately, he did have a double on the day for Te Akau and copped a 7-day suspension on the second of his winners in El Venito. But he's a jockey that's got the second best strike rate in the country at the moment, and when he's on, he's a really talented young jockey. So I thought he rode particularly well on Age of Discovery yesterday, and he is a colt we can follow. Te Akau, of course, have won that race 3 years in a row now and followed a pretty similar pattern with their horses and going to a Water Cree and then on to a 2000 Guineas. I think from the last 5 winners of the Guineas trial, we've seen 3 go on and place in a Water Cree and 1 go on and place in a 2000 Guineas, which was Field of Gold for Tony Pike. So the horses that come out of this race are sort of around the mark in a 2000 Guineas, not necessarily the top liners. Really interesting to see, Emily, that he's shortened quite significantly in the 2000 Guineas market.
Yeah, I think that's the formula, isn't it? The Te Akau Tangerine formula. They win these big races so often that it causes the market to bring them into favouritism. And of course, a huge milestone for Mark Walker as well. We heard that through the interview, but 2,000 global wins, a massive achievement.
Yeah, it certainly is. Te Akau didn't have it all their own way. In the open handicap over 1,400 metres, the favourite perfect scenario got held up quite badly, and when he finally got out, it looked like he might win, but time's ticking and a good ride by Denby Rose Tate.
Look, it showed how well the track at Riccarton played yesterday. I know they were racing on a fairly firm surface, but it appeared that horses could win from a number of spots. The speed was on in front in this race. It set up a really strong tempo for horses to be able to make up ground from behind, and that's exactly what we saw Times Ticking do. 12 months ago, this horse actually ran 4th in the Arrowfield Plate behind Mustang Valley, so he's a horse with great ability. He's won 12 races, a tick under 500,000 in prize money, so he's been a wonderful horse for the McGregor family, and was really well ridden given the way the race set up. But Emily, there was one horse in the field that was very obvious that he didn't get the room he needed in the straight.
Yeah, certainly the Black Booker, wasn't it, out of the race, and definitely a horse that's going to be followed next time. But I just love Times Ticking. He's evergreen. I know Connections are a little bit concerned about the firm track there at Riccarton on yesterday, but he handled it with ease, and he's 9 years old. And for Albie McGregor, who didn't renew his training licence this year, and now he's with Sundine, it's just a really nice story of a good, honest galloper.
Speaking of evergreen and green luck, winning the North Canterbury Cup over 2,000 metres, putting the youngsters to the sword pretty superbly. This horse has more than 60 starts, more than $1 million in prize money, and is nominated for the Livermore.
He's a super intriguing horse, isn't he? He's a former Hong Kong galloper. He arrived back in New Zealand in 2022. He started his career originally in Australia. He actually won 6 races in Hong Kong with the big prize money, and it was great to get Tina's thoughts after the race, because he just said he just tries so hard, so versatile. She thought she might lead, and she ended up taking a set, which was fine, because he is such a versatile galloper. And I spoke to Stephanie Faulkner this morning, and they're going to go to the Livermore. The owners have decided that they may never get a horse capable of running in the Livermore again, so why not roll the dice, give it a go, and that's their intention, is if they get into the race to travel up and take their spot.
I thought it was the best ride in the race. As you mentioned, I guess plan A was to lead on the horse, but it was quite obvious, a furlong out of the barrier, that there were other horses that wanted to take up that role, and Tina was quite happy just to settle the horse into the trail, and the horse settled beautifully. There was a couple of moves in the race. It was a little bit messy. Zarkat went round them, so did Taramia Ladd, so there was a lot going on, and because of that, I think John El Rocco, he was up to his usual antics and over racing and getting his head up, and he sort of lost his position and running a little bit. But it was the best ride of the race that won. She come off the heels of Far Blue and just gave the horse a beautiful trip in the run. Really interesting looking at the strike rate with the trainer and jockey. They're striking it at around 24%, which is quite incredible. So it's obviously a partnership that works particularly well. And you mentioned Steph Faulkner, who was obviously previously Stephanie Clark. I mean, she's had a wonderful career in New Zealand racing in terms of the different roles that she's had, and it's fantastic to see her getting success as a trainer, particularly with a horse good enough, as you mentioned, to take to the Group 1 Livermore. I thought, looking back at this horse's results since he's landed in New Zealand, one thing you can say about the ownership group is they've had a lot of fun with him.
And that's the most important thing, isn't it? That's why people get involved with horses, is to have fun, and good on them. Give it a go. You never know.
And you never know, indeed. Actually, TAB Racing Club, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Snazzy Tavi, let's roll you back to Friday. This is at Te Rapa, and Snazzy Tavi, well, Warren Kennedy just sat behind the leaders, let them do all the work, got the rail in the straight, and the rest was history. A really good sign for the Livermore here.
Yeah, nice horse, progressive horse. Obviously, he ran in the Tarzino first up, and things didn't quite go to plan. And I know they weren't entirely sure of where they were at with this horse, but to have come back and been able to win nice and effortlessly, I think it's got them right back on track. The confidence is up, and this is a nice win for this horse, confidence-wise, because that's what you want heading towards a Livermore, and I think she'll find a nice spot there.
A couple of really nice 3-year-olds at Te Rapa as well. Love Poem and also Suit Yourself to check out. But we are going to take a quick break here on Weigh In. When we come back, we'll head to races across the ditch. I Wish I Win in the Manikato. We're going to catch up with Mark Chittick from Waikato Stud.
Group 1, in front of a big crowd at the Valley. Starter glances over the line. They're ready, single racing in the Manikato. Johnny Rocker missed the start, 3 lengths. Climbing Star going back to second last. Growing Empire won't go away, followed by Recommendation. Growing Empire took the front, 100 metres to go from Estriella, then Southport Tycoon. Growing Empire is in front, holding on. Growing Empire, I'd say, from Southport Tycoon. It will be a photo. It's going to get up Southport Tycoon, number 4. Has lunged on the outside and has nailed them. Mark Zara aboard, has come from the clouds to put the head down right on the posts. Growing Empire was trying to hold on, but was paddling late.
Oh, wow. Look, I just rode him for luck, quiet at Speed-Go, and I mean, seeing my other horse in front like that, geez, he gave such a good chase. You know, me and Kieran were quietly confident, like he was going really well, and I didn't even have a chance to pull the whip. You know, I was coming through that quick and just got the stride in the right time.
He raced really well around the valley. He needed that first up run. I said to Nath, he went from a boy to a man over the break. Wow. I actually can't believe what Mark Zara just did on him then. I actually feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. Don't do that, mate. You've got a lot to live for, mate. Don't do that, whatever you do. That's probably the most adrenaline I reckon has ever come out of me. Geez, that's just unbelievable.
Oh, the great game. That's why we love it, isn't it? Southport Tycoon winning the Manikato. We'll dissect that a little bit, particularly around Growing Empire and the ride on that from Craig Williams, which has copped plenty of criticism. But first, he didn't win, but I Wish I Win was very good running at third. And we're joined now on weigh-in by Mark Chittick from Waikato Stud. Mark, you must have been very happy with that, particularly with a thing called the Everest looming in the distance.
Yeah, certainly, Guy. His last couple of runs have absolutely been spot on. Just what we've wanted, really. And actually, when we go back to, this plan sort of kicked off probably even before, or certainly including the Kingsford Smith, and him spelling up there, and then coming down. Look, it's so far, and fingers crossed going into the last 3 weeks. everything's just been absolutely spot on. We couldn't, the whole team couldn't be happier.
I know Peter Mooney's a man of few words, Mark, but what was the phone call like post the Manikato? What did he share with you?
Well, really, Emily, it was even pre that, you know, like with the draw of 12, we knew that we were going to have to settle back. We knew that we were going to have to come wide. Probably the thing that sort of cost us even being closer was Luke stuck on the back of V8, and he thought he'd really get a drag in, you know, like he's a Group 1 winner V8. He really thought he'd get a drag into the race, but unfortunately that didn't happen at all. Look, you know, like Moose just said, I'm looking forward to dissecting the sectionals because I think they'll be huge, and he's come through it extremely well. We've spoken already this morning, and he's down the beach for a couple of days already. He's come through the run extremely well, and he just said we are just going to be spot on in 3 weeks' time.
Mark, you mentioned the plan sort of beginning to take place through that residual fitness in the Queensland Winter Carnival. I guess it has been a much easier plan to put in place, hasn't it? Because the preparation last season was a little bit messy with the way having to go to 1,400 metres and drop back. This just feels so much better, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They've the whole camp there have said that that those 2 runs were absolutely perfect. The only thing being is on a bit harder on that tighter track. You know, that tighter turning track, short straight, and we certainly saw that on Friday night with that draw. But as Luke and Peter and Catherine have said, you know, get them to the nice long straight 1,200 metres at Randwick, and let's hope we can get a gate that sort of suits a bit better than either the inside or either the outside. Anywhere in between would be fine, and you know, give him that nice roomy track, and let's hope we can see what he loves doing in his favourable pattern.
Well, he has had a wonderful build-up into the Everest, Mark, but probably in races that we weren't sure whether he could get the job done. Obviously, 1,000 metres in the Moya around the valley, and then drawing wide in the Manikato. You mentioned a couple of things that need to happen in the Everest, but in terms of the plan coming to fruition, are the team really happy with where the horse is at?
Absolutely, Jane. He's got, as I say, he's down at the beach already, and he'll have 3 or 4 days down there. Come back in, just be sort of topped off in the stable there at Pakenham, leading up to his trip up to Sydney. And I think last year he just went up on the Thursday night, and you know, had a little bit of a look around Friday. Might have been Wednesday, can't quite remember, but. You know, it'll be short and sweet, and hopefully hit and run, and you know, hopefully we can get the job done this year.
Well, the horse's preparation's going along nicely. What about your preparation for Everest Day in terms of the team? Are you heading over to watch him? What are the team doing at the start?
Yeah, a little bit different to last year. You know, last year it was a whole launch for New Zealand trackside, you know, and Intane, etc. So this year, I suppose we're all taking a little bit of a lower profile, but really excited to be heading over there with trackside, and as I say, as part of a good strong team. We're flat out here on the farm at the moment. I was supposed to get over there on Friday night, but that this breeding shed's pretty blooming busy at the moment. It is our main time of year, so therefore didn't get there. So. Hopefully, last year we got over earlier on in the week, went through the whole festivities, but this year it'll be a bit like I Wish I Win. We'll be heading over there just beforehand, and hopefully bring that trophy back with us.
Just before we let you go, Jolie Starr was also confirmed for the Everest during the week. Have you taken a drive up the road, knocked on the door of Brendan and Joe at Cambridge Stud and said, bring it on?
No, I think, look, at the end of the day, I think it's huge that there is this New Zealand representation in the race over there, and you know, in one of the richest races in the world. So I think we should all be extremely proud of that. It's an interesting concept going into it, with still so many slots to be filled just 3 weeks out. It's been a pretty even year, I think, and. You know, I think we're going in there with a seasoned horse that so far had a perfect preparation. So win, lose or draw, we'll give it our best crack, and you know, hopefully, you know, for Waikato Stud, New Zealand trackside, all of us one way or another we can get a good result.
Yeah, too right, mate. Hey, thank you very much for joining us this morning. You better go look after the dog. I think he's missing you. Thanks for your time this morning. No doubt we'll talk to you between now and the Everest, but good luck with it all.
Okay, guys, well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark Chittick there from Waikato. Start a great run by I Wish I Win in the Manikato, the Everest not too far away. There was also another cracking race on the card on Friday night at the Valley, and that was, of course, the Feehan Stakes. There's something about it when these two go head-to-head, Pride of Jenny and Mr Brightside. I just think it's one of the best things in racing at the moment.
Of course, and it brings crowds to the track, and you only need to talk to anybody that was at the Valley on Friday night when they talk about the atmosphere that was around. And look, it's the reason why the Valley was one of my favourite tracks in Australia, is you just don't get as close to the action in any other race course. And look, it's always a fantastic contest when these two go head to head. I think the market certainly was right in terms of Pride of Jenny on Friday night. She had a lot of things in her favour, the better track conditions. She was third up, her fitness levels were where they needed to be. So I just love the partnership that Declan Bates has with this mare and allowing her to run along at pretty good sectionals, but he needs to, because she's not a horse that typically quickens in a race. So she doesn't have a strong turn of foot, but what she does have is, you know, that high cruising speed, yeah. So she can sustain sectionals for a long period of time. I don't think Mr Brightside lost any admirers, Emily. He was very gallant in defeat and chasing down the speed.
Yeah, it's interesting. You might have a clearer idea, but where they elect to go next and what they're going to do in terms of their next runs. But we're so lucky, aren't we, to have two horses going head to head like this week in, week out. It certainly adds to the atmosphere and something that you look forward to.
And in some way we can claim with the Kiwi connection as well.
Yes, of course, Pride of Jenny, a progeny of Trelawney's start, and Mr Brightside, obviously well publicised, purchased out of New Zealand, and an incredible tale. Yeah, and there was the roar that we talked about, the atmosphere at the Valley. Let's have a listen to the roar while Pride of Jenny was doing her thing.
Chipping away, Pride of Jenny trying to find the reserves at the 100. She's 3 in front of Mr Brightside. It's all too late. Pride of Jenny has run them into the night. Pride of Jenny by a length and a half. Mr Brightside and Tito last.
You only really hear that during something like a Cox Plate or something, don't you?
Look, usually? I think what it's really key when you see crowds like that on race courses and when you hear that sort of atmosphere, it's that good horses bring people back to race courses. And we've seen it right through over the years, particularly in Australia with horses like Black Caviar and Winx, and now there's the promotion with these two horses that go head to head. Well, Imperatriz and look, I guess Sunline back in the day for New Zealand, but you know, it's why it's so important to have good quality racing, because the horse in itself will draw a crowd to the races. Melbourne people love sport as well, and it's just such a good way to kick off that AFL Grand Final weekend. And yeah, I think this is the turning point. Now the AFL Grand Final's out the way, where the focus really turns to racing for the next few weeks as we build into some of those spring features.
There was one other horse to mention out of Melbourne, and that was Bellatrix Star. A very, very good 2-year-old she was, and now she's gone over to Australia, and she has continued on in some superb form. I can't believe she went out at the price she went out at.
I was, I guess I thought maybe she preferred an off-track, and that was what flattered her at that last start. But she's really impressed me with what she's done. She's won solidly, and I think it's really important for the New Zealand 2-year-olds that they do have the credentials to go across and be competitive in their early 3-year-old careers. So she's impressed me. I know, Jane, you mentioned that sometimes the Valley can favour horses that appreciate a little bit of cut out of the track.
Just because of the surface there, you do often see it a little bit more forgiving to those horses that do prefer a wet track, that even though the rating of the track was that it was a good track, it can be really forgiving for horses that prefer a little bit of give in the ground. But look, she's shown another string to her bow, being able to get round the Valley and win so well. And I just think it's really nice to see the Te Akau colours prominent. Of course, Imperatriz are now retired, so it's nice that they've got another filly over there getting the job done. And also props to Mark Walker, who identified it as a horse that could go over to Australia and be competitive. They have said that she's an out-and-out sprinter, and that's where she needs to be. So I think, you know, great effort from Mark and the team to identify the right horses to take over there.
Well, that was what unfolded at the Valley. When we come back after this break, we'll talk to Glen Boss about everything that happened at Rose Hill. A great day there, of course, the Golden Rose, and also Desert Lightning was superb at Sandown.
Desert Lightning sprinted to the front, got away by a length and a half. Running on Magnus Ben. Craig is rocketing home with Bankmore, but Desert Lightning's too far in front. Craig is absolutely screaming home, but Desert Lightning does it. By a length on the line to Craig and Magnus Ben. Bankmore, Nicolini, Vito.
It's really nice to see him take that improvement from the first up run. We still think he's got a little bit more there to come, which is really, really exciting.
I heard moods during the week. It sent the stable come here with a bit of confidence about this horse, even if there still is some improvement to come.
Yeah, look, he's a really, really nice horse and incredibly thankful to the connections for putting him in our stable for this spring preparation. So, look, he'll head towards the Toorak now and, you know, providing he takes the improvement that we think he's got to come, then that's a really exciting prospect.
Golden Rose, stand by for a start. The favourite, drawn the inside barrier, broadsiding, a heavily back favourite. Racing now, he jumped a right broadsiding and Node was clearly sharpest into stride. Broadsiding's in the mid part of the field. He's got plenty of space here, McDonald, if he wants to ease away from the rails. And it's Storm Boy in front by a length to a Node. Then Mayfair, Traffic Warden pulling out. Broadsiding's into the clear now, getting to the outside, 4 off the lead. Storm Boy at the 250. Storm Boy 2 lengths cleared from Mayfair. Broadsiding and Traffic Warden closing in. Storm Boy is the leader from Traffic Warden and Broadsiding the outside. Broadsiding and Traffic Warden, they'll fight it out. Traffic Warden, Broadsiding bobbed, won the Golden Rose. The champion T-Roll Broadsiding knocked off the stablemate Traffic Warden.
Well, James McDonald goes to 99 career Group 1 victories. 99 he sits on James McDonald. But this other James, the trainer, the maestro James Cummings, you've reached a personal milestone today. Congratulations, your 50th Group 1 win. On a day where it all started, your first Group 1 with your grandfather Bart came up in this race with Hallowed Crown.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. But it's it takes a village to run a racing stable, and it doesn't matter if it's Leilani Lodge from 10 years ago or Godolphin now. I've got 3 great stables that are able to get their fingerprints all over horses like these, and you know I owe it to them. They're the backbone. They're the guts of what we're trying to achieve, and 2 big colts today in a proper race, letting down to fight it out in a race like the Golden Rose is a huge moment.
Well done, Jane, mate. Not only is he a good-looking rooster, he's got ability.
Yeah, like myself. No, he's got way more than we can ever imagine. He's just a cool dude, you know. Like, he's just, the moment I've sat on him from the Fernhill, to see his development from race to race to race is just incredible. And he's dead set. He hasn't gone up by step. He's skipped a couple, you know. Like, he's that kind of horse.
You've got to love James McDonald, don't you? He's fantastic. 99 Group 1 wins. Congratulations to him. You also have to love Broadsiding. He was very good as a 2-year-old. He's now proven he's going to be pretty darn good as a 3-year-old. Let's bring in Glen Boss from across the ditch. Bossy, morning to you. Thanks very much for your time, as always. He's good. How good could Broadsiding be?
Well, he's potentially now, he'd be vying for favouritism for a Cox Plate now. He'll go on to the Guineas down here in Melbourne, and he'll try and emulate what Animo did a couple of years ago by, well, just narrowly getting beat in a Cox Plate. But as a 3-year-old, I'm thinking this horse can probably go one better.
You mentioned Animo, and that's a really good point. How do you compare the two, Animo and Broadsiding? What do you make of them in comparison?
Well, that's what they do. They'll start comparing him to Animo from now on because you know, obviously the synergy with James, the two Jameses, James Cummings and J Mac, having such a great association with the NMO. So they will be comparing. But this horse is, what a masterstroke. Like, come off that very good winter. Jesus, this winter form when they take horses to Queensland is just unbelievable. And James knew this colt had that residual fitness in him. You know, his best distances are going to be a mile and beyond. So first up in what is a really good contest, that was a perfect race for him. And I thought Traffic Warden was great. What do we do with Storm Boy? That's the big question too.
Yeah, Storm Boy's an interesting horse, isn't he? What do you take away from what we saw? Do you think they elect to keep pushing out in distance with him being by Justify, or do they stick to the sprinting trips?
Well, if they go out in distance, well, they're just going to keep running into this. They're going to keep butting heads with Broadside and probably Traffic Warden. He can't beat them, not over longer trips. I don't know, if it was mine, I'd be concentrating on maybe an Everest, possibly, and if that, a Coolmore at the end of the spring.
Glenn, you don't think that they're asking a bit much of the horse early in his races? We've seen 2 races now from Storm Boy where he's had to work to get to the front, and it's telling in the closing of his racing.
Yeah, they just they're going out with a very single mind at the moment, and you know, good horses can adapt. That's the thing. He keeps missing the start. I don't know why they just don't go, okay, if you miss the start, let's just ride him quiet and just see how he goes, because they're busting him up like this every time, and he's just becoming a bit of a punching bag for these other very good 3-year-olds. So I don't know why they keep persisting, saying that he has to lead, because they're just simply getting him beat.
Well, you mentioned it's a really exciting crop of 3-year-olds.
Yep.
There's plenty of talent from those colts up in Sydney, broadsiding, looking to head to a Caulfield Guineas. He should start a short price favourite. In your experience with the Cox Plate, is he the right horse to be taking there as a 3-year-old, and how competitive will he be?
Yeah, well, James McDonald nailed it on the head. He said he's a cool dude. He just does whatever he wants. He's got the right profile. He's definitely got the physique, and he's got this incredible will to win. And there's only can be a little bit of improvement come out of this colt. I mean, James won't have to do much with him going towards Caulfield for the Guineas, and then all he has to do is just keep him breathing and feed him towards the Cox Plate, because he's got this ability to stay. So for mine, you know, you're going with 49 kilos. They just got to find the right rider, and if they do, he's going to be very hard to beat.
Well, that was the Golden Rose. We just saw some stuff out of Melbourne. I want to take you back to Friday night and the Feehan Stakes between Pride of Jenny and Mr. Brightside. Always great when these two go head to head. What did you make of this? Pride of Jenny winning, but Mr. Brightside losing nothing.
Both lost nothing. I was so, you know, we need Pride of Jenny back racing well. She put the writing on the wall last start when she went down narrowly. The camp was saying that she was improving. I was very taken by Declan based on what he said. He said he galloped her through the week, and he said she was back. So that gave him the ability to go and do what he wanted to do, which he has to do on her. Let her roll through the middle stages, and gee, she's got an engine. But this is shaping as one hell of a Cox Plate. You know, like, she has the ability to take other horses out of their comfort zone and take them to a place they've never been before. So it'll be interesting now. You've got these 3-year-old that'll jump in, Mr. Brightside, and then Via Sistina, the one that we haven't forgotten about. She's going to bounce back off her defeat last start. So this is going to be one hell of a Cox Plate coming up.
Yeah, it sure is. You're exactly right there. Talk to me about Craig Williams' ride on Growing Empire. We've heard so much in the media about the ride and what unfolded with Southport Tycoon getting up over the top. What was your take on what Craig Williams did, and what would you have done differently?
No, he did everything right. I think they made a mistake there by putting the blinkers on. When he got to the front here, he just stargazed. He's come off 2 very good victories, and all of a sudden they put blinkers on him. Night time, he hit the front early, and this colt simply stargazed. He just didn't know where he was. So, and don't worry, he got beaten by a very Southport Tycoon is a very good horse, and had the perfect run into the race. But this 3-year-old, I wouldn't take anything away from him. He's still a very, very good 3-year-old. I just think they erred on the side of caution there where they put the blinkers on, and they probably got beaten by it.
Looking ahead to the Everest, because obviously you've got horses like Growing Empire that may go that way. I Wish I Win certainly got his spot cemented. What do you take out of the race? I Wish I Win, we've heard, obviously didn't have a horse to bring him into the race. He covered a lot of extra ground. How much do you take that into account when you're assessing the race? The winner obviously was ridden pretty economically, got a run through them, whereas I Wish I Win covered a lot of extra ground.
I text Peter Moody after the race. I Wish I Win probably wins the Everest on that run. And what people don't understand, he's actually a better horse Sydney way. He's had 2 runs, prep runs to get ready for an Everest. They're basically big barrier trials for him. He's, first start he missed the kick and went wide. Drew bad there in the Manikato, had to go back, as be expected, and went wide again. So he's had 2 great prep runs. He's low flying, and he'll cement himself as favourite for the Everest. And I think on that run, when he gets to Sydney, as I said, if he gets the right conditions, he's going to be the horse to beat.
Good man, Glenn. Well, punters at home, I Wish I Win currently $5 favourite for the Everest, if you do like the words of Glen Boss and Peter Moody as well. Bossy, thank you very much for your time this morning. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Always a pleasure, guys. Talk to you next week.
Good man, Glen Boss there out of Australia. We're going to take a short break here on Weigh In. When we come back, we'll wrap everything up and look at some black bookers as well.
The front runner, Jolly Star for James McDonald. Another big one, and 2,000 guineas on the bounce. They've gone back to back. They won it with Madame Pommery last year, and they've done it again.
Yeah, that is Jolie Star, who of course is confirmed for the Everest as it stands right now. $11 in the futures market to win the Everest. But of course you can win a chance to go to the Everest as well. All you have to do is just scan that QR code. It's as simple as that. Get your camera out on your phone right now. We'll leave this up for a few seconds. Chuck in that promo code Weigh In Winner, fill out whatever else you have to do, and then you can win flights, accommodation and tickets to Randwick. It's pretty much as simple as that. And I can tell you what, considering what we just saw from the Valley and the way that the Aussies get behind amazing horses, that would be a great day. So I think it's best that you probably do enter that draw. We talked about the Arrowfield, obviously, at the start of the show, but we didn't really delve into what it might mean for a number of horses going forward around the change of the day and all that sort of stuff. You've got some information around that, Emily.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy on the phone this morning. I rang pretty much, or text everybody involved in the Arrowfield, and pretty much all the horses are going. Hi-Yo Sassbomb is a yes, El Vencedor is a yes, Perleval Sass is a yes, Andrew Forsman's couple are a yes, Kelvin Tyler said at this stage yes, and Robbie Patterson also said the horses will run. He also added that they were galloping as I was messaging him, and they both galloped great if you're looking for the inside word. So pretty much all systems go for most people heading towards the Arrowfield stud plate. So for your emergencies, yeah.
Which probably means Rolls doesn't get a start. The options for him are either to re-nominate for the 2,000 metre race at Matamata, or there's an option for him at Hara on Saturday and then back up into a Livermore, but it's been pretty tough for them having made the decision to come across to New Zealand with a horse. Things haven't really unfolded the way they would have liked.
Yeah, I suspect they'd be some of the more disappointed people as to what has unhappened. Well, let's get into your moments of the week. We've talked a bit of doom and gloom today, but there has been some good stuff out of the week, Emily.
I went the old age pensioners winning at Riccarton.
The silver foxes.
I don't think you can take away what it takes as a trainer to keep a 9 or 10-year-old horse in peak form. And for Green Luck and Time's Ticking, they both are in peak form and they're winning. So it was really good to see that they're still racing at their brilliant best, and a nod to the people managing them and looking after them. They're doing a fine job.
Jane?
Well, my moment, of course, was the milestone for Mark Walker. I think it's incredible to have trained 2,000 winners globally as a trainer. Of course, he's trained in excess of 1,300 winners domestically here in New Zealand, 36 Group 1 victories. He's probably one of the all-time great trainers we'll see in New Zealand, so a fantastic milestone, and I thought a real highlight of the weekend.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. Well done to you, Mark Walker, a terrific achievement. Well, now it's our Weight Watcher segment, which for you at home is the Black Bookers. Emily, I'll come to you again.
Yep, Age of Discovery went in the mix for me. Love the professionalism he showed, going from that debut performance to second up. Think he's a colt on the rise. Love the way he got to the line.
Really loved the run of Henline in the Stud Stakes on Friday night at the Valley over a mile. Finished in behind the Kiwi bred and Evaporate, who looks like an exciting horse for Lindsay Park going forward. But what I really like about the son of Dundee is that he's now going to step up to 1,800 metres in a gloaming and head towards a spring champion. So we'll see him at Randwick on Everest Day. That extra distance is really going to suit him. So pretty excited to see what the son of Dundee can do.
Yeah, mine is perfect scenario. Well, we saw it a little bit earlier on in the show. Just could not get a run to save itself when it finally did get out. Stormed home and made a good finish of it. Sadly, who knows, who was one of my Black Bookers in one of the earlier shows, raced on Friday. Got the run, but stormed home again, finished third. So we try again.
That's racing.
The way of the world.
Welcome to racing.
Just lastly here on Weigh-In, you would have heard about the TAB Racing Club. This is pretty much your chance to experience the thrill of ownership. It is very easy. Grab your phone, jump on your laptop, whatever way you can to get to the TAB app or website. It's as simple as that, really, and join the TAB Club. You don't necessarily own the horses, but you get all the experience of owning them. You get the trainer chat, you get all that, just all the sort of stuff that comes with that. Having a very, 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 very small share in a couple of horses, it is a very cool experience, so I'd encourage everyone to get involved in that.
Yeah, you just have to be a TAB customer. It's so simple and straightforward, and you get that ownership opportunity, and once you get the taste of a win, or a second or a third, there's no going back, you're hooked.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that is all we have time for here on Weigh-In. Thank you very much for joining us, to all our guests as well, Darren Belkin particularly, fronting up after everything that happened over the last 12 hours or so. We appreciate you joining us. Have yourselves a great Sunday. See you next week.